John Kerry's house because he has been selected to be in President Biden's cabinet as an envoy for climate justice for the United States of America. We are out here today because we are so excited that Democrats have taken back the White House and every branch of government so that we can get the climate action that we need. Now, we know that Biden has talked about climate justice and we know that he is willing to make it a priority, but we are out here because we are going to hold his feet to the fire and make him deliver on those promises to give us a Green New Deal that everyone needs. We are out here because we need him to take bold climate action, more than what he has already promised. We need him to do what the people need to create millions of good green jobs, and we are out here because we know that he will listen to us. And we know that if we come out here and if we keep talking to him and we keep making these demands, that we will get what we need for this planet, for our people, for this country, for everyone who needs it. So we are out here, we're going to sit out here, we got a couple of speakers today. We're out here in this amazing Boston weather, bearing the cold because we are calling on our elected officials to do what the world needs. We have now rejoined the Paris Climate Accords, which is great. We love to do that, but it is only the first step on the road to bold climate action and a Green New Deal. So we're going to have a couple of speakers out here today for you guys, for everyone that's watching on the live stream. While we're getting started, I'm going to direct you over to this sign over here. If you're watching at home, you can go to that link right there on that sign and sign in, stay updated on our actions, and continue to fight with us as we fight for a Green New Deal. So, go ahead, look at that poster over there, follow that link and sign in, and we're going to get started with our speakers today. How are you guys feeling? All right, our first speaker up first right here is Doa. Doa is a biology major at Northeastern. Doa is currently the treasurer for Sunrise Boston and hub coordinator for the Sunrise Northeastern Hub. And Doa is going to be telling us a story today. So let's hear it for Doa.
Yes, let's go. Hey everyone. I thought I had to press the button. So in fall of 2019, I was taking a class about environmental justice, and our final project was to critique the climate plan of a Democratic primary candidate. And I chose Joe Biden. And at that point, he had received a B on the Greenpeace climate scorecards and a 72 out of 200 on the Sunrise climate scorecard. It was a plan that I could not realistically see addressing the issue, and one that I had little to no enthusiasm about. It's not visionary, it was pretty weak, and simply not enough. But a lot has changed in the last year. After Super Tuesday, the Biden campaign saw that their only way forward was to have us and our power on their side. So our movement, along with countless others, worked with Biden to come up with a much more rigorous and promising plan. One that strives to address the magnitude of destruction that has occurred, and now we need this administration to deliver on all of the promises to the people. It was us out on the streets and the organizers across the country working around the clock to deliver this victory. We are the ones that made this possible, and now as our voice has been heard, we need to keep going, and we can see the differences we are making. We cannot stop fighting, and we will not be ignored, and our work will not be forgotten. A lot of irreparable damage and loss and terror has occurred across the country over the last year, and we need to start building back. Today, the first day of the Biden administration, is the day that we expect him to start delivering on his climate promises and fight for a just recovery from the most deadly and health and economic crisis our country has ever seen. In the midst of major crises, the hottest year on record, a global pandemic, record inequality, economic depression, radical uprisings, and a failing democracy, America is at a crossroads. It is time to curb corporate greed. Anything less than uncompromising bold action that meets the scale of this crisis is unacceptable. We need to make our movement and our demands impossible to ignore. The violence at the U.S. Capitol makes it even more clear why we cannot compromise. Democrats won the White House and both chambers of Congress, and they have an undeniable mandate from the people to provide immediate COVID relief to every single person and ensure a democracy that works for all of us by creating good-paying jobs that take on the climate crisis. Now is not the time for excuses or half measures. While Democrats and Republicans are giving speeches and releasing statements about what happened in D.C., we must not forget the thousands of Americans that continue to struggle with the pandemic. We cannot forget that the people need relief now. And with Democrats' newly founded majority in the Senate, they have the power to provide this relief. We have 3 demands for Joe Biden and the members of Congress by signing the Green New Deal Year 1 pledge. We demand that they deliver direct relief to people and not corporate CEOs or fossil fuel polluters. We want to put an end to the Republican minority rule and ensure a true multiracial democracy that works for all of us. We want to create millions of good jobs, reverse systemic inequality, and put a halt to the climate crisis with a historic green recovery. We are standing outside of John Kerry's house right now, and he is a strong climate ally and has been appointed as climate envoy to Biden's cabinet. And Secretary Kerry, we need you to be brave, and we need you to take dramatic action to fight for our planet and our people. Compromise is no longer an option. We cannot avoid the urgency with which we need to deliver relief into the hands of the American people and build our country back stronger, greener, and better. The decade of the Green New Deal has started. We have a historic, once-in-a-generation opportunity to secure a new social contract for the American people, create millions of good jobs, tackling the climate crisis, and deliver racial and economic justice. Friends, I'd like to welcome you to the decade of the Green New Deal.
All right, so I know that you Sunrisers know that we all love a good song here at our protests. So I'm going to lead us in a little call and response. I think many of you will know it, but this one is called That's How the Light Gets In. Forget your perfect offerings.
Forget your perfect offerings.
Just ring the bell that still can ring.
Just ring the bell that still can ring.
There is a crack in everything.
There is a crack in everything.
That's how the light gets in.
That's how the light gets in.
Forget your perfect offerings.
Forget your perfect offerings.
Just ring the bell that still can ring.
Just ring the bell that still can ring.
There is a crack in everything.
There is a crack in everything.
That's how the light gets in.
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 Woo! Thanks, guys.
All
All right, this interview's great out here. We're going to keep it moving. Now, we've got another speech from my friend Jared, who unfortunately could not make it here with us today. So I've got his speech written right here, and I'm going to read out what he had prepared to speak today. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. Woo. It was 13 years ago in elementary school when I first noticed environmental destruction. Walking down the street, I would see trash and litter just scattered across the ground by the wind, more common than the fallen leaves in fall. Like the kid at heart I still am, I was shocked that people would do this, that they would disrespect the land we're living on when there's no second planet to fall back on. So, not long afterwards, I started a group with other kids at school dedicated to picking up trash during our recess time. It only lasted for a few weeks, but during a Friday morning announcement session in front of the entire school, our principal congratulated me and my friends on the cleanup for being, as he put it, responsible citizens. Even though as soon as we stopped picking up trash, there was litter all over the ground all over again. So I moved on. I didn't really think about it much anymore. I grew up and I went to school, and then years later, this past September, I joined in the international climate strikes that people all around the world took part in, including Sunrise Boston here in Massachusetts. I went there and I heard that we only have 11 years left to
change the tide of climate catastrophe. Hearing that, I was terrified. I thought of my home in Boston. Over the past few years, we have had unpredictable winters, increased carbon emissions, and a dependence on our cars rather than public transit. And if that's not bad enough, parts of this city, if not all of it, will be underwater by the end of the century. If we don't change things for the better. But I also felt that I had been called right then. I knew that this crucial work was something I had to be a part of, even if I didn't have all the solutions. I could still be part of it. Because of this, I joined Sunrise. I felt heard. Even if things weren't always perfect, I finally felt like I could make a meaningful contribution and that I could help create a new vision of the future with this massive coalition of young people. Something that would remain, even if I took a day off. And throughout all these past few years, I have remained hopeful, even throughout this horribly, horribly difficult year that this entire world has seen. I have seen the avalanche of coalitions being built around so many issues. When different groups come together, despite their disagreements and personal vendettas, we have this amazing coalition of all kinds of people fighting for climate justice all around the world. I'm reminded of what our new president, Joe Biden, insisted yesterday when he said, "I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days. Our history has been a constant struggle between the American ideal that we're all created equal and the harsh, ugly reality that racism, nativism, fear, demonization have long torn us apart. The battle is perennial and victory is never assured." President Biden's right, and that is why we must commit to working together to ensure a livable future. It will take more than just picking up some litter at recess time or recycling used soda bottles. I see a future where we don't have to worry about massive just destruction as a result of climate change for our children, our children's children, 7 generations down. I want a world that thinks about those children, that thinks that far ahead, and make sure that they don't have to deal with these problems that we have created. And that is why we are out here calling on the Biden administration and Secretary Kerry to follow through with our demands and your promises. Our world leaders have wasted too much time. They allow things to stay the way that they are instead of taking the bold action that we need as a country, as a city, as a planet. You must deliver direct relief to people, not to corporate CEOs or fossil fuel polluters. We must ensure a true multiracial democracy that works for all of us, each and every one of us, and create millions of good jobs. Reverse systemic inequality and put a halt to the climate crisis through a historic Green New Deal. You have the power to set this example for the states, towns, cities, and every American across the country and every person across the world, regardless of their background. So what are you waiting for? Let's start to create that future and make it so beautiful. We demand a Green New Deal. We demand a Green New Deal.
We demand a Green New Deal. We demand a Green New Deal. We demand a Green New Deal. We demand a Green New Deal.
We
Demand a Green New Deal.
Woo! All right, guys, let's give it up for Jared, who couldn't be here with us today. All right, we got one more speaker for you guys today. I'm going to hand this over to Olivia in a second. Olivia is a teacher here in Boston. She teaches 5th graders, and she's going to tell us her story today as well. Let's do that for Olivia.
Woo! Olivia!
Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia, and I was a little late today because I was teaching my fabulous 5th graders how to create equivalent fractions, which if it's been a while since you were in elementary school is not easy. Alright, teaching elementary school on the computer is at times an absurd and pretty frustrating thing to do, but it's also been such an honor and a privilege, honestly, to work with these young people through the chaos and upheaval of these past 5 months. A lot has been heavy and hard, as I'm sure you might imagine. The work never stops. I don't know how many times I've repeated the phrase, click the link in the chat please, or refresh the page, or honey, you're muted again. Then there are the questions, ranging from the ever-present, what am I supposed to be doing right now? to be heartbreaking. Why can't we be in school? Why don't you know when we're coming back to school? When can we play with our friends? Why don't we know who the president is yet? Why does the news make my parents so stressed out? Why did more than half the map vote for Trump? Why aren't things getting better yet? It's been forever. Why is library things so boring? When are things gonna get better? I'm sure you all have asked those same questions in 2020, right?
Yep.
Right.
Asked them today,
Yep.
this past hour,
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
None of these have easy answers. Teaching my students about the Electoral College doesn't actually fix the fact that nearly half of our country voted to support a man who incites violence against them and their families every day. It's really, really tempting to try to promise them that, the grown-ups are working hard to fix these problems and get us back to school, or that things will get better soon if we are patient and wait. Are we gonna be patient and wait?
Oh no!
No. And my students know that that is dumb. They know that they're smarter than that. They deserve better than that. More importantly, I agree with them. When are things gonna get better? We have been waiting for what feels like forever. When are 4,000 people gonna stop dying every single day because our public health infrastructure thinks that company profits are more important than human lives? When will our white supremacist system of policing and injustice stop murdering Black people, stop tearing apart families, stop criminalizing childhood, poverty, and mental illness? When will the people in power realize the inhumanity of an economy where 40% of households will struggle to deal with an unexpected $400 expense? Right here in Boston, right where we are standing today, the average Black family has a net wealth of just $8. Can you believe that? Just $8. We're in the in our same community, white households have accumulated an average of $247,000 of wealth. How is that justice?
Not.
How is that in any way the society that we deserve to live in? It's not. When will we realize that although it can be easy to feel immune from the impacts of climate change, living here in this beautiful place, it has snowed only 3 times this winter. Only 3 times. And our beaches and communities are disappearing under the ocean at alarming rates. So, ask again, when are things gonna get better? Well, for the first time in so long, we actually have an answer. Secretary Kerry, we're out here today because at last we have reclaimed the power that we need to create that better future, starting today. All right, sorry.
You're doing great.
Yes,
Olivia.
dog.
They
All
love a
right.
Green New Deal, the dogs do.
After
If you won't listen to us,
historic
listen to the dog.
mobilization of young people, of Black and brown people, especially Black women, of water protectors and community organizers, and civil rights leaders who have put themselves and their bodies on the line time and time again
You guys, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing
in
this.
pursuit of justice
Why do you
and
think
of a better tomorrow.
We like him. He just needs to do more.
Tomorrow's today. We have won back control of the House and the Senate and the presidency. And with your help, Secretary Kerry, we can claim this future starting now. Take a second and imagine a future where families get the aid they need to survive, to stop living in fear of bankruptcy, poverty, or death, and they're able, and the stranglehold that the Republican Party has placed over our democratic process is lifted. Imagine that. A world where the voices of individuals are actually heard. I think about a world where it is safe for my students to go to school, where they're able to play together, learn to use their voices, and in turn make their communities stronger. I dream of a world where the air they breathe does not make them sick, where they never again have to shelter, terrified, hiding from a flood, a fire, or a man in their classroom with a gun. Young people deserve, no, they demand to feel safe in their community and safe to pursue their dreams. Secretary Kerry, we are counting on you to stand with us, begin the decade of a Green New Deal, and make this better world a reality. I want to leave you today with some of the words of my students and how they imagine this world. Here is what they said. If I were in charge of the world, I would cancel homelessness. We agree? You wouldn't have racism, you wouldn't have jails. There would be more Oreos. There would be better Wi-Fi. And there would be no more garbage in the ocean. Everyone would just play games all the time, and no one would have to pay to go to the doctor. Families would have everything that they need. Families would have everything that they need. My brave, brilliant, and hilarious students deserve these things, Secretary Kerry. I'm sure you agree. On the second day of the Green New Deal, we are finally in charge of our world. We did it, you guys. We actually did it. Let's go get to work.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much for that amazing speech. I want to draw attention to something that you just said. You mentioned that here in Boston, the average black family has a net worth of $8.
That's correct.
Was it?
It was shocking to me too.
I want to just compare that to the fact that the house that we're standing in front of, this house is worth $20.5 million. $20.5 million here in the city on Beacon Hill in downtown Boston. Meanwhile, the average black family has a net worth of $8. This country has a massive inequality problem that is economic, that is racial, that is all-encompassing. And when we are talking about the climate crisis, we are talking about the fact that frontline communities, communities of color, black communities, indigenous communities, poor communities, those communities will be hardest hit by the effects of climate change.
That's right.
And as we're standing here on Beacon Hill, we've had people who live around here tell us that what we are doing right now is wrong. That what we are doing by calling attention to the fact that there are people whose lives will be destroyed by the effects of climate change is wrong. And that somehow us standing outside of Senator Kerry's house is worse than that. I want to let Senator Kerry know that there are people whose lives will be destroyed by climate change. He is not one of them, but he has the power to make sure that people's lives can remain intact, that people can have jobs that lead us to a just transition, that we can save lives by taking bold climate action now when we have the power to do so. I just want to draw attention to that fact and say that we are not here to be combative, just to be angry, just to yell at people because we feel like it. We are doing it because this work matters and people's lives are on the line. So I want to thank you all for spending this time with us out here today, for everyone that came out here and weathered the Boston cold with us, and everyone that's watching at home right now. Thank you so much for caring about this cause and for spending this time with us. We've got a training coming up tonight at what time?
6 p.m.
Tonight at 6 p.m. If you want to get more involved with these actions, we can follow this link and you can sign in today to this action if you haven't already, and you will get registered for our training tonight at 6. It's a virtual training. It's on Zoom. We want you to come out here with us. We want you to stand here in solidarity with the people whose lives will be destroyed if we don't take bold action right now. So as people are signing up through the live stream, I'll lead us in one more song. And I just want to thank everyone once again. And I want to thank President Biden and Senator Kerry for listening to us. And if you don't, we will come back and we will not let you we will not let you off the hook until you do what people need.
until you do the right thing and give us a Green New Deal. We're gonna rise up till it's won. We're gonna rise up till it's won. When the people rise up, the powers come down. When the people rise up, the powers come down. They try to stop us, but we keep coming back. They try to stop us, but we keep coming back. We're gonna rise up till it's won. We're gonna rise up till it's won. When the people rise up, what happens? The powers come down. When the people rise up, the powers come down. They try to stop us, but we keep coming back. They try to stop us, but we keep coming back.